Story 1. The Backwards Mile. The GPS recalculated for the 14th time in 6 minutes, and that's when Marcus Chen knew something was fundamentally wrong with Route 409. His odometer was counting down instead of up. Not malfunctioning, not broken. Counting backwards. He'd left the gas station at 47,218 miles. Now it read 47,203. He'd been driving for 20 minutes. The road stretched ahead, perfectly straight, cutting through Nevada scrubland that looked identical in every direction. No curves, no intersections, just cracked asphalt and the setting sun directly ahead. Except it had been directly ahead for the past 40 minutes. The sun wasn't moving across the sky. It was stuck, bleeding orange into purple clouds that never shifted. Marcus had taken this route because his usual highway was closed for construction. The detour added 30 miles, but his delivery schedule was tight. 300 frozen salmon fillets in the refrigerated trailer, destination Reno. Deadline midnight. He was already behind. His phone showed no signal. The radio produced only static on every station, AM and FM. He tried his CB radio next. Breaker, breaker. This is Rolling Dragon. Anyone copy? Nothing but white noise with something underneath it. A rhythmic sound, almost like breathing. The temperature gauge on his dashboard flickered. Outside temp, 87°, then 91°, then 103°, then 12°. The numbers spun wildly before settling on 98°. Marcus felt sweat run down his back. The air conditioning was working fine, blowing cold air that smelled faintly of copper. He'd passed the same mile marker 7 times now. Mile 46. White rectangular sign with black letters slightly tilted to the left. Rust stain shaped like a handprint on the bottom right corner. Exact same marker, exact same rust stain. Marcus pulled over, engine idling. The silence outside was absolute. No wind, no insects, no birds. Desert landscapes always had some ambient sound, but this place existed in a vacuum. He stepped out of the cab, and his boots hit pavement that felt soft, almost spongy. The asphalt looked solid, but it gave slightly under his weight, like walking on flesh. The road behind him looked identical to the road ahead, perfectly straight. No tire marks except his own, which extended back about 50 yards before fading into nothing, as if his truck had simply materialized on this stretch. He walked to the trailer, checked the temperature gauge. -8 Fahrenheit. Perfect. The salmon was fine. But when he looked through the small window in the trailer door, the boxes of fish were stacked differently than he'd loaded them. They'd been arranged with the largest boxes on bottom. Now they formed a pyramid, smallest to largest, with the top box balanced at an impossible angle. No one had touched them. He'd been driving continuously. The trailer had been locked. Marcus got back in the cab and drove. The speedometer showed 65 miles per hour. His odometer counted down 47,217, 47,216, 47,215. Every mile he drove forward, he lost a mile. He was unraveling distance. The sun began setting faster. Not gradually dimming, actually dropping toward the horizon like a stone, accelerating. Within 3 minutes, it touched the desert floor, and darkness came instantly. No twilight transition. His headlights cut through blackness that felt solid, illuminating only 10 feet of road ahead instead of the usual 100 yards. The mile marker appeared again, mile 46. Same tilt, same rust handprint. "Okay," Marcus said aloud, his voice sounding flat and dead in the cab. "Okay, think. This is impossible, so I'm having a medical emergency. Stroke, aneurysm, carbon monoxide poisoning." But his thoughts were clear. His vision was sharp. He felt completely lucid, which somehow made it worse. He tried to turn around, cranked the wheel hard right, pulling off the road into the scrubland. The truck rumbled over hard-packed dirt. He executed a full turn, pointed the truck back the direction he'd come. Except now he was facing the same view. Same straight road, extending into darkness. The desert looked identical on both sides. He turned around, but the road hadn't changed. Both directions were the same direction. Marcus drove for 2 hours, watching his odometer count down to 47,138 miles. He'd traveled 80 miles in reverse. His fuel gauge had dropped from 3/4 to just under half. The diesel was burning normally, even though distance itself was broken. The mile marker appeared every 7 minutes, always mile 46. Always the same rust handprint that, he now noticed, had 5 distinct finger marks. Around midnight, according to his watch, though the sun position was meaningless now, the headlights caught something in the road ahead. A figure, standing perfectly still, facing away from him. Marcus slowed but didn't stop. The figure was naked, pale skin almost luminescent in the headlights. Male body, average build, arms at its sides. It didn't move as he approached. He leaned on the horn. The sound died instantly, absorbed by the darkness. The figure didn't react. Marcus drove around it, giving wide berth, keeping it in view through the passenger window. As he passed, the figure's head rotated. Not the body, just the head, turning smoothly, impossibly, a full 180 degrees to watch him pass. The face was his own. Same scar above the left eyebrow from a childhood bicycle accident. Same slight asymmetry in his nose, same mole on his right cheek. The figure smiled. Marcus saw himself smile, and the expression was wrong. Too wide, too many teeth. He pressed the accelerator, speed climbing to 80. The figure receded in his mirror, still facing backward, still smiling. Mile 46 marker. 7 minutes later, another figure in the road. Same build, same nakedness, also facing away. Marcus swerved around it without slowing. This one's head rotated as he passed. His face again, but older. Aged by perhaps 20 years, deep lines around the eyes, hair thinning. Mile 46. Another figure. This one appeared 12 years old, a child version of himself, head rotating with that terrible smile. Mile 46. An elderly version, skin sagging, body frail. Mile 46. A toddler, maybe 3 years old. Chubby arms, head rotating on a neck far too thin. They were appearing faster now. Every mile marker brought another version of himself, standing in the road, head rotating to watch him pass. Different ages, arranged non-sequentially. Teenager, middle-aged, infant crawling in the center of the road, head turning, impossible baby smile. Marcus was shaking. His hands ached from gripping the steering wheel. The fuel gauge showed a quarter tank. Then all his dashboard lights died. Engine still running, headlights still cutting through. Darkness. But every instrument panel went black. No speedometer, no fuel gauge, no temperature readings. He drove blind except for the road directly ahead. The figures were now standing in groups. 5 of them. 10, 20. All different ages, all his face, all rotating their heads in unison as he passed, tracking him with eyes that reflected his headlights like animal eyes, glowing yellow-white. The road began to narrow. Imperceptibly at first, then obviously. What had been a 2-lane highway was now barely wide enough for his truck. Scrubland encroaching on both sides. No, not scrubland. The darkness itself was closing in, eating the road's edges. Mile 46. The marker was directly in the center of the road now, forcing him to swerve. 50 versions of himself stood shoulder to shoulder, forming a wall of flesh, all heads rotating in perfect synchronization. He drove through them. They didn't scatter. His truck passed through their bodies like they were projected images, but he felt impact. Not physical collision, something else. Each body he passed through made him feel lighter, more distant from himself, like copies were being peeled away. The odometer was counting down faster. 4789, 4783, 47,074. Years of driving being erased, unmade. His phone screen lit up. No signal, but a text message appeared. You've been here before. You never left. Every driver on this road is still here. The message came from his own number. Another text. We're all you. You're all us. The road doesn't end because we're not on it. We are it. His reflection in the rearview mirror moved independently. It smiled that too wide smile. Then its hand raised and pointed forward. The road ahead was changing. The asphalt was no longer black but pale, textured with bumps and ridges. It glistened slightly in the headlights, wet-looking, organic. Marcus realized he was driving on skin. The texture became more obvious. Pores. Fine hairs. The center line was a surgical scar, stitched with thick black thread. The road curved now, no longer straight, bending in a way that made him nauseated. The dashboard lights flickered back on. His odometer had stopped at 46,999 miles, 1 mile before he'd started this route. The fuel gauge showed empty, but the engine kept running. In the distance, lights appeared. Not city lights, a massive shape illuminated from within. As he approached, Marcus saw what had been impossible to see before. The road was a tongue. The lights were street lamps lining an enormous throat, descending into darkness. Hundreds of other vehicles were parked along the tongue road, all refrigerated trucks, all identical to his. Drivers stood beside them, wearing his face, all ages, all watching as he approached. The oldest version, 90 years old, hunched, dying, stepped forward and spoke with Marcus's voice. Every wrong turn leads here. Every detour, every route that shouldn't exist. We deliver ourselves over and over until there's nothing left to deliver. Marcus tried to brake. The pedal went to the floor with no resistance. Your salmon, the old version continued. Check your salmon. Marcus looked at his trailer monitoring system. The internal camera showed the cargo area. The boxes of fish had melted into a single mass, writhing, reforming. The salmon had merged, becoming something larger, something that pressed against the trailer walls with appendages that looked like human arms. The truck rolled forward on its own, engine now silent. The throat descended, walls pulsing rhythmically. The parked trucks were embedded in the flesh, slowly being absorbed, metal merging with tissue. Marcus's phone lit up with one final text. You're not Marcus Chen. You're the memory of a delivery that never arrived. We're all memories. The road remembers everything it swallows. His hands on the steering wheel were fading, becoming translucent. He could see through them to the wheel itself. The oldest version approached the driver's window, placed a palm against the glass. Their hands matched perfectly, print for print. Next time you take a detour, it whispered, you'll be here waiting for yourself. Marcus felt himself scatter, becoming multiple. He was inside the truck and standing outside simultaneously. He was young and old, arriving and already here, driver and destination, the deliverer and the delivered. Mile 46 markers stood at the entrance to the throat, rust handprint fresh and wet. Somewhere in Nevada, a highway remains closed for construction that finished years ago. The detour signs pointing to Route 409 are maintained by people who don't remember installing them. They replace them when they fade, driven by instinct, compelled by something that doesn't want the road forgotten. Occasionally, a refrigerated truck is found abandoned in Las Vegas, Reno, or Elko. Cargo spoiled, driver missing. The odometer always shows exactly 46,999 miles. The last entry in the logbook is always the same. Wrong turn, taking Route 409. Should only add 30 miles. State records have no Route 409 in Nevada. But GPS systems still suggest it during high traffic. Phone maps still show it as an alternate route. Drivers still take it, trusting technology, thinking they'll save time. The road remembers. The road keeps feeding. And somewhere in the space between locations, Marcus Chen drives past mile 46 for the 10,000th time, counting down distance he'll never recover, watching versions of himself wave from the roadside, all of them smiling, all of them welcoming him home. Story 2. The Phone Call Road. Denise Kowalski answered her phone at 2:47 a.m. on Lonesome Dove Road, and the voice on the other end was her own, screaming. Not words, just raw animal terror. A sound she'd never made in 34 years of life, but recognized instantly as something from her own throat. The scream went on for 12 seconds, before cutting to silence. Then a wet sound like someone choking. Then 3 words in her voice. Don't stop driving. The call disconnected. Denise had been driving for 3 hours, returning from her sister's wedding in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, taking the scenic route through Ozark backroads to avoid interstate traffic. Lonesome Dove Road cut through dense forest, no streetlights, no houses. Just 40 miles of winding asphalt and trees that grew too close to the road's edge. Her phone showed the call as coming from unknown, but the callback log displayed her own number. She'd called herself, or something had called from her number. The road curved sharply left. Her headlights swept across something standing at the tree line. A figure in a white dress, too tall, arms too long, face tilted upward at an angle that would break a human neck. Gone in an instant as the curve took her past. Denise's hands were shaking. She turned on the radio for distraction, for voices, for anything to fill the silence. Static on every station except one, AM 1620, which was broadcasting what sounded like a phone ringing. Endlessly. Ring, ring, ring. Her phone vibrated. Text message from her own number. Mile marker 19. Don't look right. She was approaching mile marker 19. White sign reflecting her headlights. She looked right. A car was parked on the shoulder, driver's door open, interior light on. Honda Civic, dark blue, Arkansas plates. The license plate number was hers. Her exact car, though her car was. She looked at her own steering wheel, her own dashboard. She was driving her Honda Civic. Both cars couldn't exist. But both did. The parked car's driver's seat was splashed with red. Something dark and wet covered the steering wheel. Denise drove faster. Her phone rang. She didn't want to answer. It rang 19 times before she finally picked up, hands free, eyes locked on the road. Hello? Silence, but not empty. Someone was breathing on the other end. Female breathing. Her breathing. She could hear the slight whistle in the inhale from her deviated septum, the particular rhythm she'd lived with her entire life. Who is this? Denise demanded. You, her voice answered. I'm you from mile marker 32. You're coming toward me. Don't stop driving. Whatever happens, don't stop. What the fuck is happening? The road got hungry. It's eating time now. It's eating us. I'm you from 40 minutes ahead, but I'm also you from 6 years ago. Check your face. Look at yourself. Denise flipped down the sun visor mirror. The face looking back was hers, but younger, much younger. She was seeing herself as she'd looked in college, freshman year, 20 pounds lighter, hair longer, a face that hadn't yet learned what chronic pain looked like. But she felt 34. Her lower back ached from sitting. Her right knee gave its familiar twinge. Those were years of accumulated existence, not 19-year-old ease of movement. "I don't understand," Denise whispered. "You will. We all do eventually. There are 17 of us on this road right now, all you, all calling each other, all trying to warn ourselves. It doesn't help." The call ended. Mile marker 23. A figure stood in the road ahead, hands raised, trying to flag her down. Female. Wearing the exact bridesmaid dress Denise had worn to the wedding 6 hours ago. The figure's face was hers. Her current face, 34, with the scar on her forehead from last year's car accident. Denise swerved around her. The figure's eyes followed the car, mouth open, screaming something Denise couldn't hear through the closed windows. Her phone rang continuously now. She didn't answer. 14 missed calls, all from her own number. A text appeared. "I'm you from mile marker 9, going backward. The road is a loop but not circular. We're all approaching each other from different points in time. I remember this moment. I remember not answering. Answer the phone, Denise." Another text, different sender, same number. "I'm you from 3 hours ago. I haven't reached the road yet. I'm getting coffee at a gas station. I can feel something pulling at me. I know I need to take Lonesome Dove Road, even though it's out of the way. Why do I want to take this road, Denise?" Another, "I'm you from tomorrow morning. I'm in a hospital. They're asking me where I've been. I can't remember anything after mile marker 37. My body's wrong. I'm aging in reverse. I'm 28 now and getting younger. Help me. Help us." Denise threw the phone onto the passenger seat. Mile marker 27. 3 figures in the road, all wearing her face, different ages. One elderly, 70 at least, hunched and gray, one teenage, one middle-aged. They stood in a line, blocking both lanes. Denise accelerated and drove through them. They didn't move. Her car passed through their bodies like they weren't physically present, but she felt each one. Not impact, something else. Recognition. Memory. She felt their experiences flood into her. The elderly version, dying in a nursing home, alone, thinking about the night she vanished on Lonesome Dove Road 50 years ago. The teenage version, planning to take this road on prom night, already feeling the pull, already knowing she won't arrive home. The middle-aged version, searching for herself, driving this road deliberately, trying to find what was taken, only to become another ghost feeding the asphalt. Denise gasped, tears streaming down her face. These weren't other people. These were her potential timelines, her could-have-beens and would-bes, all collapsed into this single stretch of road. The radio changed stations by itself, tuning to AM 1620. The endless ringing stopped. Her voice came through the speakers. "This is Denise Kowalski, emergency broadcast. If you're hearing this, you're on Lonesome Dove Road. There's no way off. The entrance is the exit. The exit is the entrance. You're driving in a temporal loop, and every mile marker contains a version of yourself from a different point in your timeline." Her recorded voice continued. "The road was built in 1963 over a Native American burial site. That's what the legends say. But that's not true. The road wasn't built over anything. The road is the burial site. It buries time. It buries possibility. Everyone who drives it becomes part of its history, past and future simultaneously." Mile marker 31. Dozens of figures now, all her, all ages. lining both sides of the road like spectators at a parade. They were clapping slowly, rhythmically, mouths open in synchronized smiles. Denise's phone screen lit up with incoming calls, 15 at once, all from her number. She grabbed the phone and answered randomly. "Where are you?" she asked. "Mile marker 41, her voice replied. Older voice, tired. "I'm at the end, or the beginning. It's hard to tell." "Denise, I need you to understand something. We're not trapped here. We are here. This road is made from us. Every driver who disappeared on Lonesome Dove Road in the last 60 years. We're all the same person. Different timelines, different lives, but the same consciousness, the same soul recycled through different possibilities. That's impossible. You're looking at yourself across decades, and you're calling it impossible." The other her laughed bitterly. "Listen, at mile marker 37, you'll see a turnoff. Unpaved road, take it." "What happens if I take it?" "I don't know. I didn't take it. None of us took it. We were too scared. But maybe you'll be different. Maybe this version of you will have the courage we didn't have." The call dropped. Mile marker 35. A car was driving toward her, headlights bright. Same make, same model, same color as hers. It passed in a rush of wind, and Denise saw herself behind the wheel, eyes wide with terror, mouth open in a scream that looked exactly like the sound that had started this nightmare. Mile marker 36. The forest on both sides was burning, but the fire produced no heat, no smoke. Blue flames that climbed the trees in reverse, flowing downward from branches to roots. Mile marker 37. The turnoff appeared, a dirt road barely wide enough for one vehicle, disappearing into trees that grew so thick they formed a tunnel. Denise slowed. Every instinct screamed at her to stay on the paved road, follow it to whatever end awaited. But her phone rang one final time. "Take the turn," her voice said. Not frantic now. Calm, resigned. "I'm you from 60 years in the future. I'm dying tonight. My last thought is this moment. My last regret is not taking that turn. Don't let it be your regret, too." Denise cranked the wheel right and drove onto the dirt road. The headlights illuminated a tunnel of trees, branches overhead forming a canopy so dense no moonlight penetrated. The dirt road was smooth, almost too smooth, packed hard as concrete. Her phone exploded, not figuratively. The screen erupted in sparks, plastic casing melting, battery swelling and bursting. Denise threw it out the window and watched it dissolve in midair, eaten by darkness before it hit the ground. The tunnel curved, descended, became narrower. Branches scraped both sides of her car, producing sounds like fingernails on metal. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in seconds, her breath fogging the windshield. Then the tunnel ended, opening into a clearing. 13 cars were parked in a circle, all Honda Civics, all dark blue, all with her license plates. In the center of the circle stood versions of herself, different ages, arm in arm, forming a ring. They turned to face her in unison. The youngest, maybe 5 years old, spoke first. "You took the turn. None of us took the turn." A teenage version continued, "We're drafts, failed timelines, roads not taken." The middle-aged version, "This is where we exist between decisions. The space before choice becomes reality." The elderly version, skeletal and ancient, "You can still leave. Back to the main road. Join the loop with the others. Or you can park here. Stay with us. Stop running through time." Denise got out of her car. The air felt thick, syrupy, hard to breathe. The other versions watched her, expressions neutral, waiting. "What happens if I stay?" Denise asked. "You become a decision unmade. the youngest version said. You step out of time, no past, no future, just this moment, forever. And if I go back to the road? You drive until you run out of yourself, the eldest said. You pass every version of who you were and who you'll be until there's nothing left to pass. Then you become the road. You become the thing that pulls other drivers in, other versions of yourself from other timelines, feeding the loop eternally. Denise looked at the circle of cars, at the versions of herself standing hand in hand. They looked peaceful. Sad, but peaceful. There's no good choice, is there? They shook their heads in unison. There never was, the middle-aged version said. The moment you were born, you were always going to end up here. This is the convergence point. Every possible Denise Kowalski arrives at this clearing eventually, in one form or another. Denise felt a pulling sensation, like invisible threads attached to her chest, tugging her toward the circle. She took one step forward, then another. The version smiled. Join us, they said together. Stop being, start existing. Denise stopped. No. The smiles faded. No, she repeated. If every version of me ends here, then I'll be the version that doesn't. I'll be the aberration, the mistake, the one who breaks the pattern. She ran back to her car, gunned the engine, and drove straight at the ring of figures. They scattered or disappeared. She couldn't tell which. Her car burst through where they'd been standing and accelerated into the trees on the far side of the clearing. There was no road. She was driving through pure forest, trees scraping and tearing at her car, branches shattering the windshield. She kept her foot on the accelerator, driving blind, driving on faith that reality had to reassert itself eventually. The trees gave way to open space. Her car launched off an embankment and flew through the air for 3 eternal seconds before crashing onto pavement. Lonesome Dove Road, mile marker 12. She'd gone backward, or forward, or sideways through time. Denise drove, bleeding from a dozen cuts from the shattered windshield, car making noises that meant it was dying, headlights flickering. Mile marker 15. No figures, no versions of herself. Mile marker 18. Empty road, normal forest. Mile marker 20. A sign appeared. You are now leaving Lonesome Dove Road. Drive safely. Denise crossed into normal space, normal time, and the wrongness released her like a hand opening. She drove for 2 more miles before pulling over, shaking so hard she couldn't hold the steering wheel. Her phone was in her pocket, whole, undamaged. She didn't remember picking it up after throwing it out the window. It showed 47 missed calls from her own number, all logged between 2:47 a.m. and 2:49 a.m. 2 minutes. The entire experience had lasted 2 minutes. 1 voicemail. She played it, her voice calm and clear. This is Denise Kowalski. If you're hearing this, you survived. Congratulations. You broke the loop. But understand, you're not free, you're just postponed. Eventually, you'll feel the pull again. Maybe in a year, maybe in 10. You'll be driving somewhere, anywhere, and you'll see a road that shouldn't exist. You'll know you should avoid it, and you'll take it anyway. Because we always do. Because every road is Lonesome Dove Road if you drive it at the wrong time. I'll see you again. We'll all see you again. You can't escape yourself forever. The message ended. Denise looked in her rearview mirror. The road behind her was empty. But standing at the tree line, barely visible in the darkness, a figure in a white bridesmaid dress watched her car. Too tall, arms too long, face tilted at an impossible angle. Wearing Denise's face, wearing Denise's smile. The figure raised one elongated hand and waved. Denise drove away. But she could feel it. The certainty that one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe decades from now, She would be that figure, standing at the tree line, waiting for herself to pass, completing the loop in a way she couldn't yet understand. In Arkansas, Lonesome Dove Road is scheduled for demolition next year. State engineers report unusual equipment malfunctions whenever they survey the area. Compasses spin randomly. GPS devices show locations that don't exist. Workers report hearing phone calls coming from the forest, dozens of voices, all saying the same thing. Don't stop driving. The road will be demolished anyway. They always say that. But somehow, the demolition keeps being postponed. Funding issues, permit problems, engineering concerns. And late at night, drivers still take the scenic route through the Ozarks. They still see the turn for Lonesome Dove Road. They still think it'll save time. Their phones still ring. They always answer. They always will. Story 3. The Procession Highway. Tyler Hammond saw the funeral procession at 11 p.m. on Interstate 74. And within 20 minutes, he was part of it. 12 black hearses driving in perfect formation, hazard lights blinking in synchronization, traveling exactly 37 miles per hour in the right lane. No motorcycle escort. No police presence. Just 12 identical vehicles carrying something that made the air around them shimmer with wrongness. Tyler had been driving from Indianapolis to Cincinnati, making good time, mostly alone on the road. When he passed the procession, he glanced at the first hearse. The rear window showed a casket, bronze, ornate, covered in flowers that looked fresh despite the late hour. The second hearse, same casket, same flowers, identical arrangement. Third hearse, identical. All 12 vehicles were carrying the exact same casket. Tyler's rational mind supplied explanations. Optical illusion, manufacturing. Maybe the same company made all 12 caskets for some kind of bulk funeral. His rational mind was trying very hard not to acknowledge what his instincts already knew. Something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. He accelerated to pass them, pulling into the left lane. His car died. Engine cut out completely, all electrical systems failing, speedometer dropping rapidly. He coasted, slowing, trying to restart the engine. Nothing. His car was mechanically sound. 3 months old, fresh from the dealership, fully electric with a 90% charge when the power died. The procession caught up to him, passed him. 12 hearses moving at their steady 37 miles per hour while his car coasted to a stop on the shoulder. Tyler tried his phone. Dead. The battery had been at 82%. Now the screen wouldn't light at all. He sat in darkness, watching the procession's red taillights recede into the distance. Then his car started by itself. Every system booted simultaneously. Dashboard lights flared. Radio turned on at full volume, blasting static. Headlights blazed. The engine engaged with a smooth, electric hum he hadn't activated. His steering wheel turned by itself, pulling the car back onto the highway. Tyler grabbed the wheel, tried to force it straight, tried to drive his own vehicle. The wheel fought him with hydraulic strength. The accelerator depressed without his foot touching it. His car was driving itself, accelerating to 37 miles per hour, pulling into position behind the 12th hearse. He was now the 13th vehicle in the procession. Tyler pulled the emergency brake. Nothing happened. He shifted to park. The transmission didn't respond. He tried to open the door while moving. Child safety locks engaged automatically, trapping him inside. His touchscreen display lit up with a message. Remain in procession. Do not deviate. Funeral in progress. Whose funeral? Tyler shouted at the screen. The display changed. Yours. His car maintained perfect position behind the 12th hearse, matching speed exactly, hazard lights now blinking in rhythm with the others. The dashboard clock showed 11:17 p.m. Tyler watched it tick forward. 11:17, 11:17, 11:17. Time was stuck, repeating the same minute. He tried breaking the window, punched it with his fist, slammed his elbow against it. The glass didn't crack. It should have. Car windows are designed to shatter under focused impact from inside. But this glass had become something else. When he touched it, the surface felt organic, warm, slightly yielding like skin. The interstate ahead was empty. No other cars, no overhead lights. Just the procession and darkness that pressed against the edges of his headlight range like something alive. An exit sign appeared. Exit 13, Rosewood, 1 mile. Tyler didn't remember an exit 13. He'd driven this route 40 times over the past year. Interstate 74 didn't have an exit 13. The numbering jumped from 12 to 14 due to local superstition when the highway was built in the 70s. But there it was. Exit 13, Rosewood. The procession took the exit. Tyler's car followed, steering itself down the off-ramp. The exit led to a 2-lane road, cutting through dense forest. No streetlights, no signs of civilization. The procession drove deeper into woods that felt ancient. Trees so large and twisted they seemed to predate human existence. A gate appeared across the road, wrought iron, ornate, standing open. Above it, black metal letters, Rosewood Eternal Rest Cemetery. The procession entered. Tyler's car followed through the gate, which swung shut behind him with a sound like bones breaking. The cemetery was vast, stretching in all directions beyond the reach of his headlights. Thousands of graves. Maybe tens of thousands. Markers and monuments and mausoleums forming a city of the dead. But something was wrong with the scale. The headstones were getting smaller the deeper they drove, as if the cemetery existed in warped perspective. Or they were getting larger. Tyler looked at his hands on the steering wheel. They looked the same, felt the same. But when he glanced in the rearview mirror, his reflection was slightly different. Older, subtle, maybe a few months of aging compressed into minutes, but unmistakable. The procession wound through the cemetery roads, following a path that curved and doubled back on itself in geometries that hurt to perceive. They should have been driving away from the entrance. But Tyler kept seeing the gate in the distance, always at the same angle, always the same distance away, no matter how long they drove. The dashboard clock now showed 11:19 p.m. Time was moving again, but wrong. He'd been in the cemetery for at least 20 minutes, but only 2 minutes had passed according to the clock. The procession stopped in a clearing where 12 graves had been freshly dug. Perfect rectangular holes in the earth, exactly spaced, waiting. The hearse's rear doors opened simultaneously. No drivers got out. The vehicles were empty. Tyler could see through their windows. No one sat behind the wheels. Caskets floated out of each hearse, not lifted, not carried. They simply emerged and drifted toward the graves, hovering 3 feet above the ground, moving with purpose and intelligence. 11 caskets settled into 11 graves. The 12th casket floated toward Tyler's car. He screamed, fighting the seatbelt that had somehow locked tighter around his chest. The casket approached his driver's side window, hovering parallel to the door, close enough to touch. Tyler saw his name engraved on a bronze plate. Tyler William Hammond. Birth date, correct. Death date, tonight's date. But the year was wrong. The year of death was listed as 1973. The casket rotated slowly, showing him the sides. Engraved images, a car accident, twisted metal, a body being pulled from wreckage. But the car in the engraving was his car. The exact model, the exact color. His door unlocked, opened by itself. The casket lid lifted with a pneumatic hiss. Inside, a body. His body, but ancient, mummified, decades dead. Wearing the exact clothes he was wearing tonight. Same jeans, same blue t-shirt, same jacket. The corpse's driver's license was visible in its wallet pocket, showing a photo of Tyler's face from an angle he'd never posed for, issued in 1972. Tyler couldn't move, paralyzed by terror and something else. Recognition. Deep, cellular recognition. That body was him, not metaphorically, literally. He was looking at his own corpse from a timeline that had already completed. A voice spoke, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere. Every driver on Interstate 74 is driving over their own grave. The highway was built through Rosewood Cemetery in 1973. 612 bodies relocated. Except they weren't relocated. They were paved over, buried under asphalt. We've been under you the entire time, waiting for our hearses to collect us. Tyler's body moved without his permission. He stood, stepping out of the car, legs carrying him toward the 12th grave. He tried to resist, tried to scream. His mouth wouldn't open. His vocal cords were frozen. He walked to the edge of the grave and looked down. The hole was infinite, not deep, infinite. He was looking down into a space that had no bottom, that extended beyond the concept of depth, into geometric impossibility. Figures stood in the grave. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All Tyler Hammond, all different ages, children, teenagers, adults, elderly, all wearing expressions of resigned terror. You've died here before, the voice said. Different timelines, different accidents, different years. This cemetery exists outside linear time. It collects every version of every death that occurs on the highway above. You are one of 612 drivers whose death is woven into this road. In some timeline, you died in 1973 before the cemetery was paved. In another, you died tonight. In another, you won't die for 40 years. But all your deaths feed this place. All your deaths anchor the road to the cemetery below. Tyler felt himself tipping forward, falling into the infinite grave. He fell past versions of himself, all reaching out, all falling simultaneously. He fell past car accidents and heart attacks and murder scenes and old age deaths. Every possible way Tyler Hammond could die on this highway, all collapsed into this single grave. He fell for hours or seconds. Time had no meaning in the fall. Then he was standing beside his car again, unharmed, breathing hard. The casket was closed. The grave was empty, waiting. His driver's door was still open. You get one chance, the voice said. Every driver does. Drive away now. Return to the highway. Leave the procession. But know this. Leaving means accepting that your death is still waiting for you up there, on the asphalt. In the real world, the grave is patient. The grave is inevitable. Everyone in this cemetery died on that highway. Everyone who drives it will join us eventually. Or, Tyler gasped, or lie down now, voluntarily. Step into your casket. Accept your death tonight in this place outside time. You'll never actually die up there. No accident, no pain, no fear. Just transition from this moment to eternal rest. A fair trade. Tyler looked at the casket. It was open again, lid raised, interior lined with white silk that looked impossibly comfortable. The mummified body was gone. The casket was empty, waiting, inviting. He was so tired. The terror had exhausted him. The idea of simply lying, down, closing his eyes, accepting the end. It had a seductive logic. No more fear of accidents, no more anxiety about when and how he'd die. Just finish it here, cleanly, outside the mess of time. Tyler climbed into his car instead, slammed the door, gripped the steering wheel. "I want to leave," he said firmly. Silence. Then his car started, under his control this time. He felt the steering response, felt his foot actually command the accelerator. He drove through the cemetery, following the winding roads back toward the gate. The 11 hearses remained behind, parked around the 11 filled graves. The 12th hearse followed him. Tyler accelerated. The hearse matched his speed. He took corners hard, trying to lose it. The hearse stayed exactly 30 feet behind him, maintaining perfect distance. The gate appeared ahead, still open. Tyler drove through it, tires screeching as he accelerated back onto the forest road. The hearse followed through the gate, which stayed open behind them. Tyler pushed his car to 80 miles per hour on the narrow road. The hearse matched him, 90, 100. The hearse stayed 30 feet back, hazard lights still blinking, driving with impossible precision on roads barely wide enough for 2 vehicles. The on-ramp to Interstate 74 appeared. Tyler merged onto the highway, car maxing out at 120 miles per hour. The hearse followed. He drove for 30 miles. The hearse never fell back, never closed distance. Perfect 30 feet. Then Tyler saw other cars ahead. Real traffic, real people. The digital clock showed 12:43 a.m. Normal time, advanced properly. He merged into traffic, surrounding himself with other vehicles. The hearse took the next exit. Tyler watched it disappear in his rearview mirror, turning off the highway, vanishing into darkness. He drove the remaining 60 miles to Cincinnati in the right lane, going exactly the speed limit, hands shaking on the wheel. At a rest stop, he checked himself in the bathroom mirror. Same age. No additional aging. But there was something in his eyes he didn't remember. A awareness of mortality that hadn't been there before. His phone worked again, battery at 82% like nothing had happened. No missed calls, no messages. The clock showed the correct time. Tyler searched online for Rosewood Cemetery, Interstate 74. No results. He searched for Exit 13, Interstate 74. Articles appeared about how there is no Exit 13, how it was deliberately skipped during construction. He searched Interstate 74, built over cemetery. One result. A blog post from a conspiracy theorist claiming that Rosewood Cemetery was never properly relocated, that 612 bodies remain under the highway, that drivers report seeing funeral processions at night. The blog post was dated 1973. The author's name was Tyler Hammond. Tyler pulled up the blog's About page. A photo showed a young man, early 20s, wearing clothes from the 70s. The face was his face. Same bone structure, same slight asymmetry in the smile. The blog's final post, dated November 9th, 1973. I've been seeing the procession every night for a week. Tonight, I'm going to follow it. I'm going to find out what they're burying. If I don't post again, tell my family I love them. Tell them I'm sorry for what I'm about to do. No posts after that date. Tyler checked the calendar. Tonight was November 9th, exactly 50 years later. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. See you in another 50 years, or tomorrow. Depends which timeline catches up first. You. Tyler threw the phone into the rest stop trash can and walked back to his car. The 12th hearse was parked 3 spaces away. Empty, no one inside. But the engine was running, hazard lights blinking. Tyler got in his car and drove away without looking back. In his rearview mirror, the hearse pulled out and followed. 30 feet back. Always 30 feet. It followed him, Cincinnati. It was parked outside his apartment when he arrived. It was across the street when he left for work the next morning. Always 30 feet away. Never closer, never farther. Tyler Hammond still drives Interstate 74 sometimes. He has no choice. His job requires it. He drives during the day now, never at night. But even in daylight, he sees it in his peripheral vision. A black hearse 30 feet back, matching his speed. Other drivers don't seem to notice it. It exists only for him, waiting, patient, inevitable. And Tyler knows that one day, maybe soon, maybe in 50 years, he'll see the procession again. 12 black hearses driving 37 miles per hour. Only next time, he'll realize he's not following them. He'll be leading them. Because everyone becomes the first hearse eventually. Everyone takes their turn at the front of the procession. The grave is patient. The grave remembers. The grave is waiting for all of us. Just 30 feet back, matching our speed, blinking its hazard lights, driving us home to the cemetery that exists beneath every road we've ever traveled. Story 4. The Mirror Mile. Cassandra Reeves drove into her own headlights on County Road 447. And that's when she understood she'd entered the Mirror Mile. Impossible, but unmistakable. Ahead of her on the dark country road, 2 headlights approached. Her headlights. She was somehow driving toward herself, watching her own car approach from the opposite direction on a road that had no turnoffs, no side roads, no way for 2 identical vehicles to occupy the same space. The approaching car, her car, flashed its high beams 3 times. Cassandra flashed back instinctively. The other car swerved at the last second, passing her on the left. She glimpsed the driver as they passed, a woman with wild eyes and blood running down her face, mouth open in a silent scream. The woman wore Cassandra's face. Cassandra slammed on the brakes, car skidding to a stop on the empty road. She sat there, breathing hard, trying to process. She'd been driving from her parents' farm back to her apartment in town, a route she'd taken hundreds of times. County Road 447 was straight, poorly maintained, cutting through 20 miles of Iowa cornfields. She looked in her rearview mirror. The other car, her car, was gone. Just empty road and darkness. Her face in the mirror looked back at her. No blood, no injuries. Normal. Cassandra touched her forehead, checking. Skin intact, dry, no wounds. She drove forward slowly, every nerve alert. 1 mile later, she saw it again. Her car approaching from ahead, same headlights, same model. This time the driver looked calm, waving at her cheerfully, smiling. They passed each other. Cassandra immediately checked her mirror. The other car was still visible behind her, tail lights receding into the distance. But after 5 seconds, the tail lights blinked out of existence, like someone had turned off a television. Cassandra's car radio, which had been playing classic rock, suddenly switched to static. Then a voice came through, her voice tight with panic. "Don't stop driving. Whatever you see, whatever happens, keep moving. If you stop, you'll anchor here and you'll never leave. We're all trapped on this mile, all the versions of ourselves that made different choices. Drive through. Don't look. Don't stop." The transmission cut out. Cassandra accelerated to 60 miles per hour. Ahead, multiple cars now. All hers. Dozens of them, approaching from the opposite direction in a procession. Each one contained a different version of herself. Driver 1, elderly, maybe 80, gripping the wheel with arthritic hands. Driver 2, teenage Cassandra, younger than she'd been in a decade. Driver 3, middle-aged, professionally dressed, talking animatedly on a phone. Driver 4, herself but wrong, face elongated, too many teeth, eyes that reflected her headlights like an animal's. They passed, in a rush, car after car, a parade of possibilities and impossibilities. Cassandra kept driving, knuckles white on the steering wheel. The road ahead began to change. The asphalt was now reflective, mirror smooth, perfectly capturing the night sky above and her headlights. She was driving on a road made of reflection. Her odometer started counting backward, 47,823, 47,822, 47,821. She'd driven 47,824 miles since she'd bought this car. Now those miles were being erased, unmade, every mile she drove forward, taking away her history. Cassandra's phone, sitting in the cup holder, rang. The caller ID showed her own name. She answered on speaker. Hello? Hi, Cassandra. This is you from 2 miles ahead. I need to explain what's happening before you reach the center point. County Road 447 is only supposed to be 20 miles long, but tonight it's exactly 21 miles. There's an extra mile, the mirror mile. It appears randomly, inserting itself into roads when conditions are right. Wrong driver, wrong time, wrong thoughts. What conditions? Cassandra asked, eyes fixed on the road. Regret, her voice answered. Intense regret about a choice you made. Tonight, driving home from your parents' farm, you're thinking about something, aren't you? A decision, a path not taken. Cassandra's chest tightened. Yes. She'd been thinking about James, her high school boyfriend. She'd seen his wedding announcement on social media earlier that evening, and it had torn open old wounds. She'd broken up with him 10 years ago to pursue her career, moved away, lost contact. He'd been the one, and she'd chosen ambition over love. The road sensed your regret. Her voice continued from the phone. It opened the mirror mile. Now you're driving through a space between decision and consequence. Every version of you that could have existed based on different choices, they're all here. All trapped on this mile. All driving endlessly, passing each other, never reaching an end. How do I get out? Silence. Then, I don't know. I've been driving this mile for 3 days. My fuel gauge stays at quarter tank, never empties. I'm not hungry or tired, I just drive. Pass myself over and over. I think... The call dropped. Cassandra's car crested a small hill, and the view ahead made her gasp. The road descended into a valley, and there, visible in the moonlight, were hundreds of cars, all identical to hers, all driving in both directions, passing each other continuously, headlights creating a river of light flowing up and down the road. She was seeing the entire Mirror Mile population. Every version of Cassandra Reeves that regret had created, all trapped in this loop. As she descended into the valley, the cars became more apparent. She saw herself, pregnant, driving carefully, hands protective on her belly. Homeless, living in the car, belongings piled in the back seat. Successful, driving a version of this car that was pristine, expensive modifications visible. Dying, gaunt and skeletal, medical equipment in the passenger seat. Happy, singing along to music, carefree. Crying, makeup running, wedding ring missing from left hand. All her, all real, all trapped. Cassandra understood. These weren't possibilities. These were timelines that had collapsed into this space. Every choice created a branching path, and all those paths had somehow converged on this single mile of road. She drove into the stream of traffic, becoming part of the flow. The cars passed so close she could see into their windows. Each version of herself glanced at her, made eye contact. Some waved, some screamed. Some looked dead inside, mechanically driving. One version pulled alongside her, matching speed. She was identical to Cassandra, same age, same clothes, same everything. The other Cassandra rolled down her window. Cassandra did the same. First time? The other one asked, her voice carrying over the sound of engines. Yes, Cassandra replied. You'll learn. The mile has rules. First rule, never stop. Second rule, never try to leave the car. Third rule, avoid the center point. What's the center point? The exact middle of the mirror mile. That's where the road decides which version of you is real and which versions are reflections. Most of us don't survive passing through. We become pure reflection. No substance, just light. How do I get out? The other Cassandra laughed bitterly. You accept what you did. You let go of the regret. The road feeds on indecision and self-recrimination. Stop feeding it, and it releases you. I can't, Cassandra whispered. I ruined my life. I chose wrong. Then you'll drive forever, the other version said, and accelerated away. Cassandra drove for what felt like hours. The mile never ended. The stream of her own vehicles never thinned. She passed herself driving toward herself endlessly. Her dashboard clock showed 11:47 p.m., frozen, not advancing. Then she felt it. A pull, like gravity intensifying. The center point was ahead. All the other cars began swerving, trying to avoid something in the road. Cassandra saw it. A point of absolute darkness, a sphere of void sitting in the middle of the highway. It was pulling everything toward it, light bending around it. The center point. Cars that got too close began to change. Their colors faded, becoming transparent. The drivers inside became translucent, ghostly, then vanished entirely. The empty cars continued driving, steering themselves, filled with nothing but reflection. Cassandra tried to steer around it. The pull was too strong. Her car drifted toward the center point, physics failing, normal rules suspended. She was going to pass through it. Accept it, she whispered to herself. Accept that you chose your career. Accept that you lost James. Accept that this is your life, and you can't unmake those choices. The words felt hollow. She didn't accept it. She wanted James back. She wanted the life she could have had. Her car entered the center point's pull. Everything went black. Cassandra was standing outside her car, on the road, surrounded by hundreds of versions of herself. All ages, all outcomes, all failures and successes and mediocre middles. A voice spoke, coming from all of them simultaneously. Choose. Choose what? Cassandra asked. Choose which life to live. Pick one of us. Become that version. The road will remake reality to match. You can have the life you lost. You can marry James. You can have the children, the house, the happiness. What's the cost? The versions smiled in unison. You, the current you, she ceases to exist. Her choice is unmade. Her timeline erased. You become the version you choose, but everything you've experienced in your real life disappears. Your memories, your growth, your hard-earned wisdom, all gone. Cassandra looked at the version who'd married James. She looked happy, fulfilled, loved, but also younger in a way that had nothing to do with age, less experienced, less shaped by hardship. She hadn't survived the things Cassandra had survived. She hadn't learned what Cassandra had learned. What if I choose to stay myself? Cassandra asked. Then you accept your regret. You carry it. You live with your choices, knowing they cost you something irreplaceable. The mirror mile releases you. You drive out the other side. But the regret comes with you. Forever. Cassandra looked at all the versions of herself. Perfect lives. Different pains. Other regrets. The one who'd married James was divorced in another version. The one who'd had children had lost one to illness. The successful version was emotionally hollow. There was no perfect choice. There had never been a perfect choice. I choose myself, Cassandra said quietly. I choose the life I lived. even with the mistakes, even with the regrets. The versions of herself screamed, not in anger, in relief. They began to fade, becoming transparent, then light, then nothing. The road absorbed them, feeding on their resolution. Cassandra was back in her car, driving. The center point was behind her. The stream of identical vehicles thinned, then disappeared. She was alone on County Road 447. Her odometer was counting up again. 47,825, 47,826, 47,827. The clock unfroze, 11:48 p.m. Ahead, a sign appeared. You are now leaving the Mirror Mile. Drive safely. Cassandra crossed some invisible threshold, and reality solidified around her. The road became normal asphalt. Cornfields appeared on both sides. She recognized landmarks. She drove the remaining 12 miles home without incident. In her apartment, she looked at James's wedding announcement again. It still hurt. But the pain was bearable now. Real pain, not the infinite recursive agony of the Mirror Mile. She deleted the post from her feed and went to bed. 3 weeks later, Cassandra was driving County Road 447 again. Same route, same time of night. She watched the odometer carefully. 47,900, 47,901, 47,902. No sudden appearance of 20.5 miles. No Mirror Mile. But she could feel it out there, existing in the space between regret and acceptance, waiting for drivers who couldn't let go of their paths not taken. And sometimes, late at night, driving alone on empty roads, Cassandra sees a car in her rearview mirror that looks exactly like hers. It follows for a few miles, then turns off onto roads that don't exist. The driver always waves. Cassandra waves back. She knows who it is. One of the versions that didn't fade completely. One of the reflections that found a way to persist, driving through reality like a ghost, forever searching for the center point that might let her become real again. Cassandra could stop, could let the other version catch up, could offer to trade places. But she doesn't. She drives forward, carrying her regrets, living her chosen life. The Mirror Mile taught her something. There's power in accepting that you made the wrong choice and living with it anyway. There's freedom in saying, I chose poorly, and this is the consequence, and I'll survive it. The alternative is driving forever through a mile that never ends, passing infinite versions of yourself, each one a reminder of what you lost, none of them real, all of them traps disguised as second chances. Cassandra chose reality. She chooses it every day. And on County Road 447, late at night, drivers occasionally report seeing a woman in a car identical to theirs, driving alongside them, matching their speed. She looks exactly like them, but calm, at peace, no longer searching. She's always driving forward, never looking back, never stopping at the center point. The road remembers her. The Mirror Mile remembers her. But it can't have her back. She chose herself. That choice, once made with true acceptance, can never be unmade. The Mirror Mile is still there, inserting itself into roads at random. It's still waiting, still feeding on regret. But Cassandra Reeves drives past it every time now, seeing it for what it is, a choice that stops being a choice the moment you step inside. Drive through or drive forever. She chose through, she'll always choose through. And the versions of herself still trapped in the mile wave at her as she passes, grateful that at least one of them found the way out. Story 5. The Breathing Bridge. Nathan Torres felt the bridge inhale as his truck rolled onto it, and he knew immediately that the structure beneath him was alive. Not metaphorically, not figuratively. The James Creek Bridge on State Route 29 was breathing. The steel deck plates expanded and contracted in rhythm, a slow, deliberate respiration that Nathan felt through his tires, through his seat, through his bones. In, out, 12-second cycles. Like a sleeping giant. Nathan had crossed this bridge 500 times over 3 years of his overnight delivery route. Single-lane steel truss bridge, built in 1947. Scheduled for replacement for the past decade, but still standing through bureaucratic inertia. It spanned 200 yards over James Creek, which ran 30 feet below, dark water that reflected no moonlight. The bridge had never breathed before. Nathan slowed his truck, hand hovering over the gear shift. Behind him, headlights appeared, another vehicle entering the bridge from the same side. Ahead, 2 more pairs of headlights approached from the opposite direction. They were all trapped on the bridge now. 4 vehicles. Nathan's delivery truck in the front of his direction, a sedan behind him, and 2 cars approaching from the other side. The bridge shuddered. Not an earthquake tremor, a contraction, like a throat swallowing. Nathan's radio crackled to life. "This is Tyler Chen in the blue Honda behind you. Is anyone else feeling this? Is the bridge moving?" A female voice responded. "Sarah Volkova, white Mazda, southbound. Yes, it's breathing. I can feel it breathing." Another voice, older, shaky. "Dennis Park, gray Toyota. This is impossible. Bridges don't..." The bridge buckled. Steel groaned. The entire structure twisted slightly, like a body shifting in sleep. Nathan's truck tilted 15 degrees to the left before settling back to level. "We need to get off this thing," Nathan said into the CB radio, which somehow all their vehicles were now connected to despite different frequencies. "Drive slow. Don't make sudden movements." "Forward or backward?" Sarah asked. "Forward. Closer to exit than entrance now." Nathan pressed the accelerator gently. His truck crept forward at 5 miles per hour. The bridge's breathing intensified. He could hear it now, a massive inhalation like wind rushing through a tunnel, then a slow exhalation that carried a smell of rust and river water and something organic, something rotting. The steel deck beneath him was warm. He could feel the heat through the floorboards, living heat. "It's not letting me move." Dennis Park's voice crackled, panicked. "My wheels are spinning, but I'm not going forward. Something's holding me." Nathan checked his rearview mirror. The 2 cars approaching from the opposite direction had stopped moving. They sat motionless on the bridge despite their engines clearly running, headlights shining, exhaust visible. "My doors won't open," Tyler Chen reported. "I'm trying to get out and walk. Child locks engaged. I can't override them." Nathan tried his own door. Locked. He pulled the manual locks up. It immediately clicked back down. Electronic override. But his truck was 10 years old. It didn't have electronic locks. The bridge was controlling the vehicles. A sound echoed through the steel structure. Deep, resonant, like a tuning fork vibration. It set Nathan's teeth on edge, made his vision blur. The sound had patterns in it, almost like language, like something trying to communicate through frequency. "Is anyone else hearing that?" Sarah asked. They all confirmed hearing it. "It's saying something," she continued. I think it's saying Fed. Does anyone else hear Fed?" Nathan listened. Yes, hidden in the harmonic vibration, Fed, Fed, Fed. "What does that mean?" Tyler asked. Dennis Park screamed. "My car is sinking. The bridge is eating my car." Nathan twisted in his seat to look back. Dennis's gray Toyota was indeed sinking into the bridge deck. The steel had softened around the tires, becoming liquid, viscous. The car was being pulled down slowly, inevitably, like something caught in quicksand. "Get out! Break the window!" Nathan shouted into the CB. "I can't. Glass won't break. I hit it with my crowbar, and it just flexes like plastic. The Toyota sank to its axles, then its doors. Dennis's face was visible in the driver's window, pressed against the glass, hammering it with his fists. Then he was gone. The car disappeared into the bridge deck, which sealed shut above it with a sound like a massive wound closing. "Jesus Christ," Tyler whispered. "Jesus fucking Christ." The bridge exhaled. The smell of exhalation now carried hints of gasoline and burnt rubber and something copper-sweet like blood. Nathan's mind raced. The bridge was alive. It was feeding. It had consumed Dennis Park and his car. They needed to escape before it consumed them all. "Don't stop moving," Nathan said. "Everyone keep rolling forward. Don't brake, don't stop. Stopping makes you vulnerable." His truck crept forward, 20 yards from the far end of the bridge, 15 yards. Sarah's voice, tight with terror. "My steering wheel is turning by itself. It's forcing me toward the edge, toward the railing." Nathan looked in his mirror. Sarah's white Mazda was indeed veering right, steering toward the side of the bridge despite her visible struggle with the wheel. "Fight it," Nathan urged. "I am. It's stronger than me." The Mazda's front tire hit the low, steel railing. The railing bent outward, rusted metal shrieking. The car tipped, front end lifting off the bridge deck. Sarah screamed. The Mazda teetered for 3 eternal seconds, then fell. No splash. Nathan should have heard impact with water 30 feet below. He heard nothing. The car vanished into darkness beneath the bridge, swallowed by something that wasn't James Creek anymore. Tyler Chen was sobbing. "Let us go. Please let us go. We didn't do anything to you." The bridge shuddered again. This time Nathan felt something else through the vibration. Satisfaction. Contentment. Like a predator after feeding. 2 vehicles consumed, 2 remaining. Nathan's truck reached the end of the bridge and stopped. An invisible barrier held him at the exact point where bridge deck met solid road. He pressed the accelerator. Engine roared. Wheels spun. The truck didn't move forward. It was frozen at the threshold between structure and ground. "It's not letting me off," Nathan reported. Tyler tried the same. Same result. His Honda was stuck at his end of the bridge, unable to reverse onto solid ground. They were both trapped at opposite ends of the breathing structure, separated by 200 yards of living steel. The bridge began to contract. The entire structure shrank, pulling Tyler's car and Nathan's truck toward the center. Not quickly, slowly, inexorably, like a drawstring tightening. Nathan watched the distance between his truck and the midpoint decrease. 15 yards, 12 yards, 10 yards. "It's bringing us together," Tyler said, voice hollow with hopelessness. "It's going to make us collide." Nathan frantically tried everything. Emergency brake didn't engage. Shifting to reverse, transmission wouldn't respond. Turning the wheel, steering locked, the contraction continued. 8 yards, 6 yards. Through the windshield, Nathan could see Tyler's face in the Honda. A young man, maybe 25 years old, crying openly, hands pressed against the windshield like he was trying to push the inevitable away. 4 yards between them. Nathan closed his eyes. This was it. Collision, then consumption. The bridge would feed on them both. But the contraction stopped at 3 yards. The breathing rhythm changed. Faster now, excited, like a heartbeat accelerating. Nathan opened his eyes. Between his truck and Tyler's Honda, the bridge deck was bulging upward. Steel plates rose, forming a mound, a dome, something pushing up from beneath. The steel split. Something emerged. A figure. Human-shaped but wrong. made from rust and rivets and cable wire. It had Dennis Park's face, perfectly preserved, grafted onto a body of bridge materials. The figure opened its mouth, Dennis's mouth, and exhaled bridge breath, that smell of rust and rot. "Fed," the Dennis thing said in a voice like grinding gears. "Fed. Fed. Fed." Behind it, another figure pulled itself through the split in the bridge deck. Sarah Volkova's face on a body of steel beams and concrete. Her mouth moved independently of the voice that came out. "We feed it. We become it. We are the bridge now." More figures emerged. Dozens of them. All different faces, all human heads grafted onto bodies made from bridge components. Men and women, young and old, wearing faces from different decades. "How many?" Nathan whispered. "How many people has this bridge killed?" The Dennis thing tilted its head, cables creaking. "First feeding, 1949, 2 years after construction. Driver named Michael Reeves. Then periodic feeding, every few years, when hungry, when traffic patterns allow, when conditions permit. 73 of us now. 73 faces. 73 voices. One structure." The figures approached the vehicles from both sides, moving with jerky, mechanical movements. "You will be 74 and 75, the Sarah thing said. "You will be bridge. You will be structure. You will be support. You will hold us up forever." Nathan's door unlocked, opened by itself. The Dennis thing reached in with a hand made of rusted bolts and corroded steel. "Come. Feed the bridge. Become the bridge. It doesn't hurt after the first moment. After that, you're part of something larger. Something that has stood for 77 years. Something that will stand for centuries more." "No," Nathan said. He grabbed his fire extinguisher from the passenger side floor. Every delivery driver carried one. He aimed at the Dennis thing's face and discharged. White foam erupted, covering the figure. It stumbled back, clawing at its eyes. Nathan threw the truck into 4-wheel drive. A mechanical override, not electronic. The system engaged with a grinding clunk. He floored the accelerator. The truck lurched forward, breaking through whatever force had held it. He was moving, driving onto solid ground, wheels biting into real asphalt. In his mirror, Nathan saw Tyler Chen try to follow. The Honda surged forward. But the bridge figures grabbed it. Dozens of them swarmed the car, bodies pressing against it, steel hands gripping metal. Pulling it back, Tyler's face appeared in the rear window, mouth open in a scream Nathan couldn't hear. The Honda was dragged backward onto the bridge. The deck opened beneath it. The car sank slowly, Tyler's terrified face visible until the steel closed over him like water. Nathan drove 1 mile, 2 miles, 5 miles. He didn't stop until he reached a gas station with fluorescent lights and other people and normalcy. He called 911, reported everything. 2 people trapped on James Creek Bridge, bridge structurally unsound, possible collapse, send emergency services. The dispatcher was skeptical, but logged the call. Nathan waited at the gas station for 20 minutes. Finally, his phone rang. The dispatcher. "Sir, we sent a unit to James Creek Bridge. They report no vehicles present. Bridge is empty and appears structurally sound. Are you sure you have the correct location?" "I'm sure," Nathan insisted. "Check for the people. They're inside the bridge." "Inside the bridge?" Nathan heard how crazy that sounded. He hung up. He pulled up local news on his phone, searched for James Creek Bridge, found an article from 1949. Mysterious disappearance on new bridge. Driver vanishes without trace. Another from 1957. Second vehicle disappears from James Creek crossing. Articles every few years. Always the same story. Car or truck found abandoned on or near the bridge. Driver missing. No evidence. No explanation. Investigations going nowhere. The pattern of feeding. Nathan looked at the dates. He calculated. The bridge fed approximately every 6 to 8 years. The last disappearance, 2018. 5 years ago. It was due. It had been hungry. Nathan never drove State Route 29 again. He requested a route change, took a pay cut to avoid that section of highway. His company thought he was crazy, but they accommodated him. James Creek Bridge still stands. Replacement funding mysteriously falls through every time it gets close to approval. Permits get lost, contractors back out. Politicians who support demolition lose elections. The bridge wants to stay. Late-night drivers still use it, unaware. Most pass through without incident. But every few years, someone disappears. Always between 2 and 3 a.m., always alone, always without witnesses. The bridge is patient. The bridge is selective. It doesn't need to feed often. But when it feeds completely. Nathan Torres wakes up some nights in a cold sweat, hearing that sound. Fed. 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 And he wonders how many bridges aren't really bridges. How many structures have learned to breathe, to consume, to incorporate their victims into their physical form. How many roads and tunnels and overpasses are actually alive, waiting for the right conditions, the right isolation, the right hunger to reveal their true nature. He wonders, but he doesn't investigate. Some knowledge is too dangerous. Some questions are better left unasked. Nathan drives carefully now, always. He checks bridges before crossing, listens for breathing, watches for movement in steel that should be static. Most bridges are safe. Most. But James Creek Bridge is still there on State Route 29, spanning dark water, breathing in its 12-second rhythm, waiting patiently for the next feeding. And somewhere inside its steel structure, Tyler Chen's face has been grafted onto a support beam, mouth opening and closing in mechanical rhythm, saying the same word over and over. Fed. Story 6. The exit that never ends. Meredith Park took exit 67 off Highway 90 at 11:43 p.m. And 3 hours later, she was still on the exit ramp. Not stuck in traffic, not broken down. Driving continuously, speedometer showing 30 miles per hour, exit ramp stretching ahead impossibly, endlessly, curving right in a gentle spiral that should have connected to the surface road within 300 yards, but had now consumed 90 miles of driving. Meredith's fuel gauge showed empty. Had shown empty for the past hour. The car kept running, kept consuming gasoline that couldn't exist, drawing from a tank that had apparently become infinite along with the road. The exit ramp looked normal. Standard concrete barriers on both sides, reflective lane markers, occasional signs. Surface street 1,000 feet. But that sign had appeared 17 times now, always promising the end was near, always lying. Her phone had signal, full bars, but couldn't complete any calls. She'd tried 911 14 times. The line would ring once, then disconnect. Text messages sent but showed delivered with no responses. She'd texted her husband Marcus. Stuck on exit 67. Something wrong. Call police. Delivered. No reply. She'd tried texting her coworker Janet, her sister, her mother. All delivered. None replied. The radio played normally, cycling through stations. News, music, talk shows. But every station was broadcasting slightly wrong versions of reality. The news reported weather in cities that didn't exist. Songs played with familiar tunes but incorrect lyrics. Talk shows discussed political figures she'd never heard of. Meredith gripped the steering wheel tighter. Her knuckles ached. She'd been driving in the same right-turning spiral for 3 hours. The gentle curve should have given her vertigo by now, should have disoriented her completely. But she felt normal. The physics of the turn somehow compensated, making the endless right curve feel like driving straight. At the 2-hour mark, she'd tried stopping. Pulled over to the concrete barrier, put the car in park, tried to get out and walk. The moment her foot touched pavement outside the car, the exit ramp tilted. Not dramatically, just enough. 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15. Meredith scrambled back into her car. The ramp leveled out. The message was clear. Keep driving, or the road will dump you over the edge. She'd looked over the barrier once. The drop was infinite. Not tall, infinite. She stared down into darkness that had no bottom, no sense of depth. Just eternal fall, waiting for anyone stupid enough to leave their vehicle. So she drove. Mile 96, mile 97. The surface street 1,000 feet sign appeared again. This time, someone was standing next to it. Meredith's heart lurched. A figure in the emergency lane, thumb out, hitchhiking. Male, middle-aged, wearing business casual clothes. Normal. Too normal. As she approached, the figure waved. Not desperately. Casually. Like this was perfectly normal. Meredith passed without slowing. In her rearview mirror, the figure turned to watch her go. She saw its face clearly in her taillights. The face was Marcus, her husband. Exactly him. But Marcus was at home, 300 miles away, asleep, unless he wasn't. Meredith grabbed her phone, tried calling him again. Ring. Disconnect. She kept driving. Mile 104, another figure. Female this time. Professional clothes. Waving. Meredith's face. She was passing herself, standing on the side of the exit ramp, trying to flag herself down. The other Meredith mouthed words. Stop. Please stop. Meredith drove past. The figures appeared more frequently now. Every mile brought another person standing in the emergency lane. All people she knew. Marcus appeared 3 more times, each version dressed differently. Her sister Julie, her mother, her boss, her best friend from college. All of them trying to flag her down. All of them too clean, too composed, too wrong to be real. At mile 130, all the figures appeared simultaneously. Dozens of them, lining both sides of the exit ramp like a corridor of familiar faces. They stood motionless, watching her pass, heads turning in unison to track her vehicle. Meredith kept her eyes forward. Don't look, don't engage, keep driving. Her phone rang. She nearly swerved in surprise. Actual incoming call. Marcus's name on the caller ID. She answered on speaker. Marcus? Baby, thank God. Where are you? I've been trying to reach you for hours. His voice. Exactly right. The slight rasp from years of smoking he'd quit 5 years ago. The particular rhythm of his speech. I'm stuck on an exit ramp, Meredith said. Exit 67 off Highway 90. Something's wrong. I can't get off. I've been driving for 3 hours and it just keeps going. That's impossible. I know, but it's happening. Silence on the line. Then, Meredith, listen carefully. You need to stop the car. I can't. The road tilts when I stop. That's not real. It's a hallucination. You've been in an accident. You're in the hospital right now. This is all a coma dream. You need to wake up. Stopping the car will wake you up. Meredith's chest tightened. What? You crashed 3 hours ago taking exit 67. They pulled you from the wreck. You're in surgery right now. This is your brain creating a continuous experience while your body is under anesthesia. Stop driving. Wake up. It made sense. Perfect sense. More sense than an infinite exit ramp. Meredith's foot hovered over the brake. "That's it," Marcus encouraged. "Just stop. Come back to us." She heard something in his voice. A wrongness. The cadence was slightly off, the pitch too perfect. "What's our anniversary date?" Meredith asked. "April 14th. "Wrong. June 9th. "Fuck you," Meredith said, and disconnected. The figures lining the road began moving, walking toward the center of the ramp, blocking her path. Meredith accelerated. She drove through them. They didn't scatter. Her car passed through their bodies like they were projections, holograms, ghosts. But each one she passed through produced a sound, a whisper in her ear, impossible to hear clearly, but distinctly present. The whispers piled up. "Stop. Wake up. You're dying. This isn't real. Come back. Let go." Meredith screamed to drown them out, kept accelerating. 60 miles per hour, 70, 80. The exit ramp curved faster to match her speed, maintaining that gentle right turn that somehow never completed. Mile 170. A new sign appeared. "Congratulations on reaching mile 170, only 830 miles to Surface Street." 1,000 total miles. The exit ramp was exactly 1,000 miles long. Meredith did the math. At her current speed, approximately 10 more hours of driving. Her body was exhausted, her eyes burned, her back ached. But she wasn't getting sleepy. Shouldn't she be falling asleep at the wheel by now? 3 hours of continuous driving, stress, fear. She should be barely conscious. But she felt alert. Too alert. Adrenaline that never faded. Because this wasn't normal reality. Normal rules didn't apply. At mile 200, the exit ramp changed. The concrete barriers became transparent, then disappeared entirely. The ramp now hung suspended in empty space, a ribbon of asphalt with no visible support, floating through infinite darkness. No more emergency lane, just her lane, perfectly maintained, stretching into void. Meredith looked down through her driver's window. Nothing below, nothing above, nothing to either side. Just the road and her car and the darkness that pressed against her headlights like something solid. At mile 250, she saw other cars. They were driving on parallel exit ramps. Separate roads, close enough to see clearly, too far to reach. Dozens of them, hundreds, all spiraling through the void, all following their own endless exit ramps. She recognized some of the cars. Models she'd seen parked on her street, in her workplace parking lot, at her gym. Other people were trapped too. How many? How long had they been driving? One car on a parallel ramp was close enough that Meredith could see the driver, an elderly woman, hunched over the wheel, face blank with exhaustion and resignation. She'd been driving so long she'd become automatic, mechanical. Meredith waved. The woman didn't respond, didn't see her, or had stopped caring about anything except maintaining forward momentum. At mile 300, Meredith's phone rang again. Julie, her sister. "Don't answer," Meredith told herself. But loneliness was overwhelming. She answered. "Mer, Jesus Christ, where have you been? We've been searching for 12 hours. 12 hours. She'd only been driving for 5. "I'm on the exit ramp still," Meredith said. "What exit ramp? You never took an exit. Cameras show your car driving straight past exit 67. You're still on Highway 90. You've been driving the main highway for 12 hours straight, swerving between lanes, ignoring other traffic. Police have been trying to pull you over. You won't stop." I'm not on the highway. I'm on the exit ramp." "There is no exit ramp, Mer. It's all in your head. Something's wrong. Medical emergency. Stroke. Aneurysm. Pull over. Let the police help you." Meredith looked at her surroundings. Suspended road in infinite void. That wasn't Highway 90. Unless it was. Unless her perception was broken. Unless this was all hallucination. If I pull over, will the ramp tilt? Meredith asked. What? No. Meredith, roads don't tilt. You're not making sense. Please stop the car. What's Mom's maiden name? Meredith asked. What? Why are you... Answer the question. Henderson. Correct. What did you give me for my 30th birthday? The necklace with the sapphire pendant. Meredith, why? Correct again. Tell me something only you would know. Something we've never discussed with anyone else. Silence. Then Julie's voice, quieter. When we were 14 and 12, we stole Mom's car and drove to the beach. 2 a.m. We crashed into a mailbox on the way back. We told her it happened while parked on the street. True. A memory Meredith had nearly forgotten. This was really Julie. Or something that knew everything Julie knew. Please, Julie sobbed. Please pull over. You're scaring us. The kids are crying. Mom's on her way to the hospital thinking you're dying. Just stop. Meredith's hands were shaking. What if this was all hallucination? What if she was having a medical emergency, and this was how her brain was processing it? She looked at the infinite void surrounding her suspended road. Looked at the parallel exit ramps stretching in all directions like a web of captured drivers. I can't, Meredith whispered. If I stop, I fall forever. There is no fall. There is no void. There's just Highway 90 and you driving on it, seeing things that aren't there. Trust me. Trust reality. Stop the car. Meredith's foot moved toward the brake. Then she saw it. In the parallel ramp closest to hers, the elderly woman's car was stopped, just sitting there, motionless. The woman hadn't fallen. The road hadn't tilted. She was fine. No, not fine. As Meredith watched, the woman opened her door and stepped out, stood beside her car, looked around with an expression of relief. Then the woman began to fade, not dramatically, gradually, like a photograph left in sunlight, color bleeding away, form losing definition. Within 30 seconds, the woman was gone. Her car remained empty. Did you see that? Meredith asked Julie. See what? Meredith, I'm looking at you through the police helicopter camera right now. You're alone on Highway 90, swerving between lanes. There's nothing else there. Two realities, both insisting they were truth. Meredith made her choice. I'm sorry, Julie. I love you. But I'm going to keep driving. No. Meredith, please. She hung up. Mile 400. Mile 500. Time became meaningless. Meredith drove and drove. The odometer on her car showed numbers that couldn't exist. 63,000 miles. 70,000. The car aged around her. Paint, fading, seats wearing down, dashboard cracking. Years of driving compressed into hours. At mile 600, she saw the elderly woman's car again, still sitting abandoned on its parallel ramp. But now it was rusted, falling apart, nature reclaiming it despite the absence of nature in this void. At mile 700, Meredith's hands had fused to the steering wheel. Not metaphorically, literally. Her skin had grown around it, merged with the plastic. She was becoming part of her vehicle. She didn't panic. It felt right, inevitable. At mile 800, she passed a sign. Welcome to the Forever Exit. Population, 7,394. Enjoy your stay. 7,394 drivers, all trapped on their infinite exit ramps, all driving forever. At mile 900, Meredith saw a surface street ahead. Real. Solid. The exit ramp was actually ending. She wanted to cry with relief, but found she couldn't. Her face had become too rigid, expression locked into the concentration of driving. Mile 950, mile 990, mile 999. The surface street was right there. 50 yards. 25. 10. Meredith's car crossed from exit ramp to surface street. A sign welcomed her. Exiting forever exit. Thank you for driving. Please visit again. She was on a normal road. Streetlights, buildings. A small town at 3 a.m., mostly dark but real, solid, existing. Meredith tried to turn the steering wheel. Couldn't. Her hands were part of it now. Tried to lift her foot from the accelerator. Couldn't. It had merged with the pedal. She'd become her vehicle during the 1,000-mile drive. And her vehicle was still driving, following the road, unable to stop. Ahead, a sign. Highway 90 entrance, 2 miles. No. The surface street led directly back to the highway. And on the highway, she knew exactly what she'd see. Exit 67. She'd loop back, take the exit again, drive another 1,000 miles, then return here. Then the highway. Then the exit. Forever. Meredith tried to scream, but her mouth wouldn't open. Tried to cry, but her eyes were fixed forward, lidless, staring at the road. She'd become a driving corpse. A thing that existed only to travel the forever exit eternally. The highway entrance appeared. Her car merged onto it automatically. 3 miles later, exit 67. Her car took it without input from her locked hands. The exit ramp stretched ahead. The counter in her mind started over. Mile 1, mile 2, mile 3. Behind her, the town disappeared. The surface street faded. There was only the ramp now. Always had been. Always would be. On Highway 90, police finally stopped pursuing the erratically driving vehicle. They watched as it took exit 67. Cameras tracked it for 50 yards onto the exit ramp. Then the car vanished from all cameras simultaneously. The exit ramp appeared empty. The car was gone. Search teams found nothing. No crash, no debris, no evidence of Meredith, Park, or her vehicle. The investigation concluded she'd somehow abandoned her car and fled on foot, though no one could explain how she'd done it without being seen. Exit 67 remained open. Thousands of cars took it every week without incident. But occasionally, once every few months, a driver would take that exit and never arrive at the surface street. The car would simply disappear, gone from traffic cameras, gone from the world. The population counter on the forever exit incremented, 7,395, then 7,396, then 7,397. Somewhere in a space between decision and destination. Meredith Park drives her 1,000-mile exit ramp for the 47th time. Her body has fully merged with the car now. She is the car. The car is her. Metal and flesh fused into a single entity that exists only to follow the endless curve. She can't remember her name anymore. Can't remember why she's driving. Can't remember anything except the road and the gentle right turn and the miles counting up toward 1,000. Mile 1, mile 2, mile 3, forever. The exit that never ends. Population 7,397, always growing. Always hungry for one more driver who takes the wrong exit at the wrong time and learns that some roads don't have destinations. They only have distance. Story 7. The Shoulder Walkers. Kira Martinez saw the first one at mile marker 237 on Route 54. A figure walking on the shoulder, facing the wrong direction, moving against traffic. Not unusual by itself. Pedestrians sometimes walked rural highways. Hitchhikers. People whose cars broke down. But this figure was naked. Pale skin almost luminescent in her headlights. And it was walking at exactly 60 miles per hour, matching highway speed, feet moving in rapid mechanical steps, arms swinging in perfect rhythm. Kira slowed her car, watching the figure in disbelief. No one could walk that fast, physically impossible. But there it was, maintaining highway speed, passing her as she decelerated. She got a Clear look at its face as it passed. No eyes. Just smooth skin where eyes should be, as if the sockets had been sealed over with flesh. Kira accelerated again, putting distance between herself and the eyeless walker. Her heart hammered. She grabbed her phone to call 911. No signal. Full bars, but no service displayed. Route 54 was straight highway cutting through Montana wilderness. 3 a.m. No moon. Just her headlights and darkness, and occasionally mile markers reflecting back at her. At mile marker 241, another figure, also naked, also walking against traffic at impossible speed. This one had eyes, but too many. Dozens of them covering its face like insect eyes, all blinking in random patterns. Kira floored the accelerator. 70 miles per hour, 80, 90. At mile marker 248, 5 figures, walking in a line on the shoulder, all naked, all wrong. One had mouths instead of eyes. One had hands growing from its neck. One was elongated, 8 feet tall, body stretched like taffy. They were appearing more frequently. Kira's speedometer hit 100 miles per hour. She'd never driven this fast. The car shook. Her hands ached from gripping the wheel. Mile marker 253, dozens of figures. They filled the shoulder, walking at highway speed in formation. All malformed, all impossible. Then one stepped onto the highway, directly into her lane. Kira swerved. Her car fishtailed, tires screaming. She regained control, heart exploding in her chest. In her rearview mirror, the figure stood in the center of her lane, facing her direction now, watching her recede. It raised one elongated arm and waved. More figures began stepping onto the highway. Not randomly, deliberately, creating obstacles, forcing her to swerve around them. Kira dodged left around a figure with backward knees, right around one whose head rotated continuously, straight through one that seemed translucent. Her car passed through it like it wasn't solid, but that one made her feel cold when she passed through it. Not temperature cold, existential cold, like something had briefly touched her soul. Her radio turned on by itself. Static, then a voice. Female, emotionless, speaking rapidly. You are currently experiencing phenomenon 437. Shoulder walkers. Entities that exist on highway shoulders after midnight in regions of low population density. They move at traffic speed in the opposite direction of flow. Do not stop. Do not leave your vehicle. Do not communicate. Continue driving until dawn. Dawn dissolves them. You have 3 hours until sunrise. And drive. The radio cut back to static. Kira checked the clock. 3:17 a.m. Sunrise around 6:30 a.m. in late November. 3 hours, 13 minutes. She could do this. Just keep driving. Survive until dawn. At mile marker 267, the figures began running. Not walking anymore. Sprinting at highway speed. And they were faster now, keeping pace with her at 100 miles per hour. One ran alongside, her car matching her speed exactly, turning its eyeless face toward her window. Its mouth opened, showing teeth that spiraled down its throat like a tunnel. Kira looked away. Eyes on the road, just the road. Her fuel gauge showed half tank, enough to drive for 2 hours at this speed, not enough to make it to dawn. She'd have to slow down, conserve fuel. Kira eased off the accelerator. 90 miles per hour, 85, 80. The figures matched her speed, slowing their gait. Still walking at whatever pace she drove. At 75 miles per hour, more figures appeared. They materialized from darkness, stepping onto the shoulder fully formed. The population was growing. At mile marker 291, they covered both shoulders completely. Hundreds of naked, malformed bodies walking against traffic, all facing the wrong direction, all moving in perfect synchronization. Then they started crossing. One by one, They walked from the left shoulder across the highway to the right shoulder, slowly, deliberately, creating a moving obstacle course. Kira's focus narrowed to pure survival. Dodge, swerve, accelerate, brake, threading between bodies that shouldn't exist. One figure, a child-sized thing with adult proportions, walked directly at her car. She couldn't avoid it, braced for impact. Her car passed through it. But this time the cold was worse, deeper. She felt it in her bones, in her blood. Felt something being taken from her. Warmth, life force, something essential. Every figure she drove through took a little more. Kira realized the strategy. They couldn't force her to stop, so they were making her pass through them, draining her with every contact. Eventually she'd be too weak to drive. Then she'd stop. Then they'd have her completely. She had to avoid all contact, even with the translucent ones. But there were too many now. They filled the highway, shoulder to shoulder, walking across in waves. Impossible to avoid them all. Kira's temperature was dropping. She cranked the heat to maximum. Didn't help. The cold was internal. At mile marker 312, her car's engine coughed, sputtered, almost died before catching again. The fuel gauge still showed a quarter tank. The engine shouldn't be failing. But the figures she'd passed through hadn't just drained her. They'd drained the car too. Its energy, its mechanical life. The engine coughed again. RPMs dropped. Speed decreased from 70 to 60. The figures matched her speed, slowing down, walking at 60 miles per hour. Kira's vision was fading at the edges, gray creeping in. She'd passed through at least 40 figures. Each one took something. She was running out of something to take. "Please," she whispered. "Please let me make it to dawn." The figures didn't respond, didn't acknowledge her. They just walked. Perfect machines of sustained motion. At mile marker 327, Kira saw lights ahead. Not sunrise, too white, too sharp. Artificial lights, arrest. Stop, buildings, parking lot, safety. She aimed for the exit ramp. The figures moved to block it, dozens of them standing on the ramp, filling it completely. Kira didn't slow. She drove straight at them, closing her eyes as she passed through the mass of bodies. Cold, Arctic cold. Cold that stopped her heart for 2 beats before it reluctantly restarted. Cold that froze thoughts mid-formation. But she made it through. Her car coasted into the rest stop parking lot and died completely, rolling to a stop near the bathroom building. Kira sat in darkness. Her headlights had died with the engine, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. The rest stop was abandoned. No other cars. No lights in the buildings, except emergency exit signs glowing red. But it was enclosed space. Walls. Structure. Not open highway. She looked back at the entrance. The figures stood at the edge of the rest stop, not entering. They lined the perimeter, motionless now, watching. Waiting. Kira checked. Her phone. Still no signal. Clock showed 4:03 a.m. 2.5 hours until dawn. She tried starting her car. Dead. Completely drained. Not even a click when she turned the key. She'd have to wait here until sunrise. Hope that the emergency radio broadcast was true about dawn dissolving them. Kira locked her doors and huddled in the driver's seat, wrapping herself in the emergency blanket from her trunk. The figures stood motionless at the perimeter. At 4:30 a.m., they began to move. Not walking away, walking in place, maintaining their motion, marching but not advancing, staying at the edge of the rest stop but not leaving. At 5 a.m., they started humming. A collective sound, hundreds of voices producing a single note. Low, resonant. It vibrated through the car, through Kira's body. The humming carried meaning. Not words, but intention. Message transmitted through frequency. You took from the highway. You must give back. Exit your vehicle. Walk with us. Become shoulder. Become road. Become motion eternal. No, Kira said aloud. The humming intensified. At 5:30 a.m., the figures began to change. They grew, expanded, their bodies stretched, becoming larger, taller, reaching toward the sky like plants growing in time-lapse. They were trying to reach over the rest stop boundaries, extend their bodies to touch her car. Kira watched in horror as elongated arms stretched above the perimeter, fingers extending, reaching down toward her vehicle. She was trapped. Couldn't drive, couldn't run, could only sit and watch them reach for her. One hand touched the roof of her car. The metal buckled inward. A handprint pressed into the steel roof like it was clay. More hands reached, touching, pressing. The car began to crumple under their cold grip. Kira looked at the clock. 5:47 a.m. Sunrise at 6:30 a.m. 43 minutes. She wouldn't make it. The roof collapsed another inch. The hands were inside the car now, fingers pushing through steel like it was paper. Kira did the only thing she could think of. She closed her eyes and pretended she didn't exist. Made herself small. Made herself absent. Thought about nothing. Became nothing. The hands paused. Seemed to lose focus. Withdrew slightly. Kira held her breath, held her non-existence, became a void in the shape of a person. The hands retreated further. She was disappearing from their perception. By becoming nothing, she was nothing to them. Minutes passed. The hands withdrew completely. Kira remained perfectly still, perfectly empty, barely breathing. At 6:15 a.m., the eastern horizon began to gray. At 6:20 a.m., the first rays of sunlight touched the tops of the figures. They began to smoke. Not burning, evaporating. Like morning fog dissolving. At 6:28 a.m., the sun cleared the horizon. The figures evaporated completely. Hundreds of them turning to mist, then nothing, leaving the highway empty and normal. Kira opened her eyes, looked around. Dawn. Beautiful, ordinary dawn. The rest stop was normal. Her car's roof was intact, no handprints, no damage. Had it all been hallucination? She tried the ignition. The car started immediately. Full tank of gas. Kira drove back onto Route 54 and continued her journey. The highway was empty, peaceful, normal in morning light. She told no one what she'd experienced. Who would believe her? But 3 weeks later, driving Route 54 again during daylight, Kira passed mile marker 237, where she'd first seen the shoulder walker. Someone had spray-painted a message on the marker. They walk after midnight. Don't stop. Don't look. Count the hours until dawn. The paint was faded. Years old. How many drivers had survived the shoulder walkers? How many left warnings? How many didn't survive? Kira never drove Route 54 after dark again. But sometimes, other highways, other states, she sees them in her peripheral vision. Figures walking on the shoulder too fast, wrong direction, bodies impossible. She never looks directly at them, never acknowledges them. Keeps her eyes forward and drives until dawn or until she reaches populated areas. The shoulder walkers exist everywhere. Highways cut through empty places. They walk every night, moving against traffic, waiting for drivers who stop, who run out of gas, who break down in the dark hours. Most drivers never see them. The figures exist in a perceptual blind spot for people not attuned to their frequency. But once you've seen them clearly, you always see them. A curse of awareness. Kira sees them often now. Walking, always wrong. Always waiting for the driver who can't make it to dawn. She carries extra fuel in her trunk now. Never lets the tank drop below 3/4. Avoids empty highways after midnight. Because she knows, if she stops, if she runs out of time or fuel or luck, the shoulder walkers will be waiting. And they never forget a driver who escaped. They walk in her direction now when she passes. They turn their eyeless faces toward her car. They remember her. And one night, eventually, her luck will run out. Her car will die on a dark highway. And they'll be there, walking toward her at 60 miles per hour, ready to collect what she owes for surviving the first time. The highway always collects its debts. The shoulder always claims its walkers. And dawn, no matter how certain, always arrives just a little too late for someone.